Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Farrier. Joining me now on The Narrative is a Member of Parliament in Grenada, DelmaThomas. She is a recent addition to the Dickon Mitchell cabinet. We may remember DelmaThomas crossing the floor from winning on a New National Party ticket and causing quite a stir crossing the floor and joining the government side of the House of Representatives. Several months have passed, and now she's a member of the cabinet in a recent cabinet reshuffle. She's one of the 2 new inclusions in the cabinet of ministers of Grenada. DelmaThomas has charge of the Ministry of Mental Health and Wellness and Religious Affairs, and she's joining me now to talk about what her agenda is as the country and the government pushes its plans for a total and complete wellness of Grenadians. Mental health getting some attention now, and people beginning to understand that no matter how healthy you are physically, if you are not stable in the head, then you might have a bit of a problem as well. And it just goes to productivity and how well adjusted people are, and the issue of dealing with social issues in the country, that mental wellness is very important in promoting a good social landscape in the country as well. Welcome to the program, MP DelmaThomas.
Thank you, Callistra, and thank you for having me on your program today.
Well, I will start the program. I will come out swinging by saying that I didn't get the chance to get a photograph with you and of you on the day that you took the oath, and I'm not sure if I'm over that yet.
Well, let's get over that, because there's not, let's forget about that and really deal with the issues that confront the state. The issue, I mean, we could go back and forth on why you did not get a photo, and I think the reality is, whether we accept it or not, is that the ceremony should have been on Friday. The Governor General was traveling before we went to our resident, and I know you know that we went at different times. I know for you for sure know that I went one time, there were other people coming different times. So I mean, while we appreciate the media would want to have, and you would want to have a photo with me, I know, let's move forward and really look at how we develop Grenada. And as we specified today, we're talking mental health.
Mental health. Well, as we develop Grenada, the press, the media would like to have a bird's eye view and a first-hand view, getting our own information. And any attempt whatsoever to not allow that to happen will, of course, be met with the kind of reaction that it was met with before. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about wellness and mental health. Your new ministry.
And the truth is, we are not looking to keep the media off. That's why I'm here with you this evening.
I hope so. You can't say no to me. But you're there in mental health. I know that is a passion of yours, that area, mental health and wellness, the whole of the human being. Wellness is something that you have a passion for. How's it been now? You've been in the ministry just a little bit over a week or so, a week or two. You've been the minister of 2 weeks as the Minister of Mental Health and Wellness. How is that going?
Well, it's for me, it's going really good. My passion. So I am excited to unroll and deal with the issues as a ministry. The issue of mental, and when you talk to mental illness, is not really a sexy topic for us. It's taboo in Grenada. And so we are hoping that an awareness. I mean, I'm sure you have seen over the last couple of weeks how even people in high position, how we deal with people who have mental illness. And so I am placed, I believe, in a position where I can let away. I mean, there's no secret that I've spoken about the issue of mental health over and over in my tenure, the first and second term, being a minister of government, not specifically having a responsibility for mental health, but I've spoken about it. I've given insight of where I came from, my mother's issue with mental and the stigma and discrimination that we as her children had to undergo. And so I think I am placed in the right position to champion the cause for mental health across Grenada. And I say mental health across Grenada because a lot of times when we talk about mental health, we think about mental illness and somebody walking the street, maybe naked or cussing or fighting or whatever. But the whole issue of mental health is a whole bigger picture than that. And so we can unveil and be able to educate our population. And I think that's the whole issue: education, training. Those are key components as we move forward in really dealing and prioritizing. Because the very fact that my government has given a whole ministry to mental health speaks of its priority in dealing with the issue. And I think they give the right person who have a lot of knowledge, maybe not the degrees that others will have and the doctors will have, but have been with issues in terms of the issue of mental firsthand, where my mother has been ill and where we had to deal with stigma and discrimination, the issue of the medication on our body and all those stuff. So I think I am
Well,
placed in a position.
I suppose that the technical people in ministries, you must have the technical people. I find frequently that ministers are neither knowledgeable nor qualified sometimes in the ministry that they are given, but what they are able, what the skill is, the ability to bring the right people around you to be able to roll out your vision and to help craft the policies that are required to enable your vision for where you want to go with that. Given your interests and your background in dealing from a personal standpoint with a mental illness, know that you have a ministry where you have charge of shaping the direction of how we treat mental illness in the country and how we deal with the mental wellness of people. Because, you know, we don't want to treat somebody who has developed some sort of mental illness. We want a nation that is healthy, that does not develop mental illness. So what are you bringing to the table in that regard? What can we see coming out from the DelmaThomas Ministry of Mental Health and Wellness?
Well, you can see more awareness. You can see education at the level of the communities. So it's not only when you have somebody sick in your family, you'll hear about how to deal and how to treat with the issue of mental illness, because we're talking mental wellness here. So we will be starting at the level of the school, maybe starting even at the primary school and at the level of the community. And I believe we are placed with religious affairs for a reason, because we believe that the church has a role to play. We know the church is independent from government. They have an independent role, but we know that they can play an integral role in assisting in that regard. So we can also see more training, and we will also see more expert in that area. In that regard, I can inform you that last week I had a lengthy meeting, about 2 hours, with a senator from Canada who has extensive training and worked extensively in mental health. In fact, he's a doctor. And now he's part of the Senate in Canada, Dr. Stanley. And so we have spoken at length. In fact, we communicated even yesterday. And so he started to send documentation and is willing to assist us in the technical field and helping us as we move our strategic agenda to deal with mental health.
Because over the years in Grenada, what we seem to have is you go stark raving mad and you get medicated in Monkey, or you get nothing at all. And that place in between where people can get counseling and therapy, whether you want to pay to go see a psychologist and talk to a therapist, or whether or not the state is providing it, we seem to have a bit of a lag there. Apart from the Dr. Stanley, you said is you're speaking to an expert in Canada. Are you planning, and is there funds allocated to your ministry to bring on more experts, more psychologists and counselors and trained qualified therapists, so that they are available to people, and particularly in the schools too?
So we already have counselors on the Ministry of Education in school, but we'll appreciate that we need a lot more of the training, a lot more of the education at the level of school. And I can say to you, while we must appreciate that this is a new ministry, came in after the budget, but I can give you the government commitment to invest more into that ministry. So we will see more personnel coming as we unveil what we intend to do and what we're going to do. You will see more trained personnel being part of that new trust.
No, so now we've talked a lot about dealing with the issue of mental illnesses. Let's
Illness,
talk
yeah.
about let's talk about mental wellness.
And
How do you plan to promote and cultivate mental wellness so that people do not end up going over the edge? Uh,
so the whole issue of having trained counselors, psychologists, people who can, when you have an issue, a distress or so, because the truth is every body will go through some form of mental, maybe distress, you can say. And mental distress doesn't mean you have to be medicated. And or you might have mental problems, which somebody suddenly died in your family, then it affects you mentally. You lose your job, that too will affect you. And as you know, one of the things I've said recently, and I think I've stole it from Dr. Stanley, if you lose your job, and you need counseling and you need psychological support, you do not need them to give you medication because you lose your job. What you want is a job back, you know?
mm,
And so if you lose somebody in your family, then what you need to do is to go through the grieving process and need to get the support that can help you to go through the grieving process instead of putting you on medication. So what those are what we are looking for, and that is the reason why we are looking at the school, as you said, the community intervention, and have the support staff plus the education, the promotions that will tell young people and all the people that you can, if you have a problem, then you can call this person, knowing that you can speak with somebody confidential, because sometimes in a small island state, that's one of the issues we have. People have mental problems, they're going through certain things, and they're afraid to speak to others because not knowing for sure where it will end up. And so we want to give them that confidence that when you come to our staff, because they are so trained that you will not hear it on the street. And so we will be working in that regard. We have had long meetings, my peers and the team. We have the medical director and them who are very versed and very passionate about that. We have our CMO. So we have some resources already, but we are aware that if we are prioritizing as a government mental health, we cannot just talk, give it lip service. And so we'll have to put our monies where our mouth is. We'll have to look for other support from PAHO and other international organizations, which I must say already started to look at what's happening in Grenada. In fact, I've received many congratulation messages from key funders that I've worked with before, saying that they are so excited about the decision taken by the government. One of the messages say this is so forceful in terms of putting a ministry and giving that importance to mental health. And so I look forward to working along with those organizations, to working along locally in terms of our people, because there are many local resources right here in Grenada. St. George's University have many doctors that can assist us. There are many trained people in that field who are willing. I mean, I've had many webinars. You would not imagine the last 2 weeks, the amount of meetings, discussions, webinars I've had with key people who believe that's a step in the right direction. There are people in the diaspora who are reaching out. And I know that even from the SGU standpoint, there are alumni who are willing to give back. And so we are excited as a ministry. I mean, me and my peers sat yesterday and we looked with excitement as we prepare to really deal with mental wellness. Because we are not only want to deal with people who already have the illness and how we can better assist them and their families. And that's a key part of Calistra, assisting the families when you already, either you have mental illness or mental distress, because a lot of times we just leave it up to them and say, well, we're treating your family and we're not even dealing with you who have to undergo and deal with them on a daily basis. And so we are hoping to provide that support, because I can speak for my own self. When, as I said before, when my mother came from overseas sick, because sometimes when you hear the story, you may think, well, my mother was a mental person for all her life. She was one beautiful young lady. If you watch pictures of her, maybe one of the most beautiful and intelligent young woman you would see. But something happened in her life, somewhere along her life, and threw her off. And so
she couldn't cope and went
she
over the
couldn't.
edge.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes it's those things that could be family history, and that's why when people make aspersion to the fact that may say, well, you mentally ill. I'm not disputing that. I mean, because mental illness can happen to anyone. So I'm not even fighting with anybody to say, well, no, and try to defend whether I'm normal or abnormal, because the truth is at some point in our life, we go through mental distress. And sometimes it's, we make it look like we can't speak to the fact that we had depression. We can't speak to the fact that something affected us sometime in our lifetime, because we concerned that people may say that you're crazy, in inverted commas, or this is a mad person. But Kalisha, you see, we have to look at the bigger picture, and I'm happy that I'm with you today, because the bigger picture is, if you do all your research and you put on your computer, you Google Abraham Lincoln mental illness, you'd realize that he spoke publicly of his mental illness, and he had 2 mental breakdown that the public knew about. If you look at Roosevelt, what's his name? Theodore Roosevelt? No, there's another president. I need to get in there before I tell. I say. But there are Roosevelt? 2. No, but there's the other. So there's 2 presidents who rise to be president in the U.S. and they had issues of mental. I mean, like one had schizophrenia, one had a whole set of depression and all that. So that's the education we need to tell our people, our young people and everybody, that yes, you can be distressed because you're human. And so just like how people have cancers and you have diabetes and all that, you can have issues that affect your mind, affect your brain. But nothing is wrong with that. All you need to do is to seek support. And the support we have to provide is support that can prevent suicide, for example. And that has nothing to do with whether or not you have money or you don't have money. We have seen people who had it all already in the world. Not talking about only Grenada. We have in Grenada too. But yet they committed suicide. We have seen big movies.
And speaking about suicide, because I noticed that when we look at the figures, we've seen a few of those happening. I don't know if it's because of social media, but it appears as if more people are turning to that ultimate option as a means of coping with whatever distress they might be having. Are you going to have any specific focus on that, or are you just hoping in the broader conversation on mental wellness that will be covered?
Well, the whole wellness will take care of all that.
On suicide prevention. So
so the whole wellness agenda, our whole wellness agenda will take that into consideration, because we have seen in our smaller island, many people in COVID, we had a number of cases. In the recent time, we had a few young people who are, committed suicide. And so it must be part of what we do as it relates to the whole mental health agenda.
Now, we have to talk about Monkey Hospital. A lot of negative reports coming out of the Monkey Mental Hospital. Sexual assault and abuse of patients, particularly female patients. I know you were on one of those investigations a few years back on natural deaths at the facility, mistreatment of patients, and just the general approach to people who end up in that place, and may be related to the same stigma that if you have a mental illness, then you become less than human, or something like that. How do you intend to approach the Monkey Mental Hospital, which falls under your portfolio, to fix those problems?
So our agenda is to restore human dignity in people who are suffering from a mental illness, to educate even our staff that they are human like anybody else. And so, as I said earlier in the inception, that training will be very important in this regard. We have to look at it in a holistic way. So we will evaluate what is happening there, what are the issues there, and how best as a team, because as a politician you can say one, but we want to work together as a team with our strategic agenda in dealing with the whole issue. So Monkey Mental Hospital is one of the issue. But what about people there? When last have you visited the Monkey Mental Hospital? You'd realize, Kalistra, that a lot of the patients there are young people, and therefore the assessment must be done to understand exactly why all these young people are there. Are there some of the people who need rehabilitation? And if the answer to that is yes, then it means that we need another place to deal specifically with rehabilitation, where you can provide that psychological support and be able to reintegrate these people back into society. So that is also key on our agenda in terms of I know many years we talk back and forth about a rehabilitation center. So we can't speak mental health and mental wellness without seriously looking at some rehabilitation center, some rehabilitation for those young people or those people across our country on our streets who are drug addicts and need our assistance to be able to reintegrate back into society. And
Because
I mean, when you
a lot of people end up at Monkey with because of substance abuse
substance abuse.
problems. But I have to ask you, you were for 2 terms, you were part of another administration. And it's been, I don't know, is it 12 years, 10 years since we've been talking about the Carlton House? For me, I have a real problem with any government, and especially one that was there for 10 years, not putting the money in to build such an important facility. We've been raising funds for more than a decade to build a rehabilitation facility for the people of the country. And people who would otherwise be productive members of society end up on the wayside, end up with serious problems because there is no facility of that nature. It's that level of irresponsible behavior. Is that going to continue, or is the government going to take the bull by the horn with Carlton House? Are we going to continue to raise funds for another 5 years for Carlton House, or was something announced in the budget that the government is going to get this thing rolled out?
Calistra, just like how the government took the bold step and paid the pension when we heard before the pension could not be paid, the bold step to increase the minimum wage, the bold step to do all the things that you saw happen in recent times. I want to assure you today, so you can hold me by that, by my word, that this government will take the bold step in ensuring not only that we set up a rehabilitation center, but also we take people off the street, people who has mental illness, people who are homeless. We want to restore human dignity, and so we want to be able to work.
So when will construction begin on Carlton House?
So what I can say for now, as we speak, the design will be completed this year, and so I will have a further.
I heard something about the design being completed last year. The design was about to be completed or something like that.
Well, I don't know where you hear it from. Remember, I'm the new minister. I'm not sure if you heard it last year. Maybe in April or February.
Yeah, I'm telling you that last year. The permanent secretary in the ministry that aspect of it. I know it's now a full ministry, but you always had wellness under the Ministry of Health, and the permanent secretary under wellness did say, and it seemed like when will the drawings be ready? When is construction going to begin?
What I can say, I can give you government's commitment that the drawing will be completed and the facility will be built. And so we'll have staff and all that, trained staff, as we move forward with that new trust, and we prioritize that. I cannot go back to those times you're talking about. What I want us to do is to forge forward. I understand and appreciate that we have to look at what happened in the past as we look to go forward. But what I want to say to you, I want to give you our commitment that we will take the bull by the hand as you ask us to, and I hoping that I will be able to have, not hoping, but I will have another interview with you saying that our design and everything is completed and we are ready for construction. I cannot say to you as we sit right now that construction may start before the end of the year. What I can say, that construction will start sometime, but I need to update you. You will also appreciate that it's 2 weeks, and so we have to make sure that we put all structures in place. It doesn't make any sense I come to you and I say, well, it's going to happen by June or July, and then you say, well, she told us a lie, like you're able to identify with other issues. So I want to be honest and upfront with you.
Okay, but I mean, what all of this is telling me is that you've been going through a lot of stuff. They've been updating you and bringing you up to speed on information and things that pertain, and the rehabilitation center falls right under your portfolio. And if someone has not said to you, oh, this is a timeline and we have this and we have that, it probably means that it does not yet exist. So maybe you might want to put some fire under someone's tail to get it done, because time's going and people are getting
what I can tell you is that
in the shuffle.
The design will be done, and it is done. Not the funding is coming from CDB, so I am aware that will be done this year. And so we have to make sure that we put all structures in place. It doesn't make any sense I come to you and I say, well, she told us a lie, like you're able to identify with other issues. So I want to be honest and upfront with you.
Well,
this year. And so I will provide additional information, because what I know as a government, we are prioritizing that. So it means that we'll fast track and push forward our agenda as it relates to dealing with that whole issue of rehabilitation, the issue of wellness, overall wellness, mental wellness, and the overall wellness altogether. Based on our priority, we will move forward to deal with those issues.
All right. Now, you spoke about the number of youth who are warded at Mount Gay, who are at wards at Mount Gay Mental Hospital. I had a sociologist on my program a few days ago who was talking about an increase in youth violence. And it seems that not just the violence, but youth seem to be under a lot of pressure now, social pressure, economic pressure. Outside of the mental health agenda, are you interfacing with any other ministry, or do you plan to interface with any other ministry to focus on youth intervention before everything goes south and they have to end up at Mount Gay? Youth intervention that's going to go directly to the violence that we see among our young people, as well as their inability, their seeming inability to cope with a lot of the pressures that now exist in this modern time.
Yes, so earlier on I told you that we will be working in terms of with schools and with the community, and that education aspect will include our young people. And so we will look at ways in terms of how do you resolve conflict amicably, and what are the issues that confront you as a family, and how we can advise and give you the support that is needed. So all that will be part of the whole picture, the whole strategic plan as we move forward.
An artist who is known for singing, what I learned recently was gunman lyrics. He's been involved in a lot of violence in Trinidad in terms of being the focus, the target of assassination attempts. People have died, including people who had nothing to do with him. Is booked to come right in your backyard, I think it might be, not literally, but in terms of in your district, in that vicinity there, to do a concert. Are you comfortable with that?
Comfortable with somebody coming in my backyard to do a concert? Listen.
Cayman 6.
Right. So we have national security who will deal with that issue, would know of the details that you have, and I believe that as a country we will do the right thing. That's all I can say about that.
But I'm asking for your opinion on it.
Anything
performing.
Any violent artist or person, I would not be comfortable with it. We look at the ways and means, as I said, to deal with conflict and to deal with people or young people who get themselves involved in conflict. So I would not be happy to hearing that someone who is violent will be involved among with our young people, because if you're promoting violence, then I would not be happy with that. But I believe that we will make the right decision once we have all the information, all the facts on because I do not even know who is Cayman 6. I don't even have the information. I'm seeing bits in social media in recent times.
I did not know either, and I went and it took me all of 5 minutes to see and to know who Cayman 6 is.
That's what I said. So I never knew of that artist before until in recent times I've seen a lot of promoting in social media. So what I can say, as I said, we will do the right thing, and we will do whatever it takes to alleviate any issue of violences. And if that show will create an avenue for violence, then I do not see it happening. That's my personal opinion. But as I said, the issue of dealing with that will have to come from national security and others who will do all the investigation.
Prime Minister's ministry. So before we go, and I'm not sure if there's any specific message that you want to put out there as a new minister, and given the sensitive ministry that you have, but I want to throw a question out to you that does not have anything to do with mental health or anything. Well, or maybe it does really, but maybe not. On Monday night, the opposition leader, your former political leader, led the interviewer to believe, and the interviewer seemed to believe it because he didn't challenge it, which was, in my view, total media malpractice, that ISIS, the terrorist organization, is registered and operating in Grenada. Given that you, and I'm asking from the point of view that you were part of Dr. Mitchell's camp, are you surprised that he would make such a comment and say such an inflammatory thing that gives the impression that a terrorist organization is active and operating in Grenada, when ISIS
Well, I would not.
ISIS Holistic, which is a body massage place in the south?
Well, not only surprised, but also disappointed, because I believe that somebody of Dr. Mitchell's caliber and knowledge of how these things work would not try to create fear in not only in Grenada, but what are you saying to people who are interested in coming to Grenada? What are you telling the international community about our country, the country that you love so much, the country that you ruled and led for all these years? So it is disappointing, and I do hope that we can, those issues, sometimes you make things for political reasons, a political expediency, but there are some issues that you think twice before you say it, because of the nature and how it will affect the whole country, the same country that you want that you led before.
All right, thank you so much. And invite all of the media, not just me. That was Minister of Mental Health and Wellness, DelmaThomas, and Religious Affairs, DelmaThomas, a new addition to the Dickon Mitchell led cabinet in Grenada. More when we come back.